Smart automation, better business. Learn how to optimize your business with Solved.
Hi, and welcome back to another video. My name is Brendan Lowe, and I'm a Salesforce and AI expert at Solved. If you have ever logged into Salesforce as an admin or someone who has access to the backend, and you have noticed that your API requests are getting very high, or even worse, if you've noticed, hey, our integrations aren't working as we'd expect them to, you'll know that that's a very scary and helpless feeling. And trust me, I'm speaking from experience. The intent behind this video is to show you how you can not only see your API request limits, but also see a more granular view of the usage so that you can prevent failures or issues in the future. So first, let's go take a look at how you can see your limit and usage. So let me share my screen. We're going to go to Setup. And in the quick find, we're going to search for System Overview. Now, if you haven't been here, this view actually has a lot of important and useful information. You can see your limits in terms of custom objects, custom metadata types. Not going to go into too many of these. The main one that I want to focus on is API requests. First thing that I'll point out is you can see your limits. Right now I have 441,000. This limit is typically derived from the addition of Salesforce that you have, along with the number of users that you're paying for, or licenses. That's usually what Salesforce uses to generate your API request limit. However, you can pay to update that if needed. This shows me, okay, I've used 1,015 API requests in the last 24 hours. And against my 441,000 limit, that is pretty much nothing. However, you may log in and you may see, hey, we're at 80%, 90%. Something that's important to note here is Salesforce does give you a grace overage, meaning you can go over your limit. But from what I've seen at 200%, so if I was at almost 900,000, 882,000, I've seen that Salesforce begins to block those API requests. And that's where you can see really massive issues in your org. Integrations breaking, not being able to query records, all of those things that are pretty critical. You get to 200%, that's when you will start to see those blocks. Not the main purpose of this video, but should you find yourself in that situation and you need temporary reprieve, you can submit a case to Salesforce and ask them to increase your limit for a period of up to 2 weeks while you work on reducing the number of API requests. So that is just in case you find yourself in a tough situation, you can do that. Now, talking about that situation, let me show you how you can get a more granular view of how these requests are being used up. To do this, we're actually going to have to go into Salesforce Classic. So I'm going to switch here. And then in the sales, which I'm already in, we'll want to go to Reports. And then when you search the folders, search for administrative reports. And here you can see API usage last 7 days. So this is super, super nice. And when you're trying to understand how are we using up these API requests, it shows you by user and by day for the last 7 days, how many different API requests were sent out by that user. So in order for this to be, more helpful, something that you'll want to do is when you're setting up integrations, specifically ones that use API connections or requests, you'll want to make sure that you set up an integration user specific to that integration. So that when you log in here, you have a granular view of, for each integration, how many requests are being sent out. And that can help you pinpoint the exact integration that is maybe spiking or causing your API requests to skyrocket. And in that way, you can look at more targeted ways of reducing them. So that's actually everything that I have for you today. Hopefully this helps in your quest to stay below your API requests limit in your org. If you have anything else that you found is helpful, feel free to drop that in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more about Salesforce, Agentforce, Financial Services Cloud, Revenue Cloud, my team at solved.cloud on YouTube is always putting out videos every single week. So feel free to subscribe and tune in and listen to our videos. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching. We can't wait to help you automate your business. Please like, comment, or subscribe for more.